Little bit of wheel spin there. Yeah, she's quick. 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. Welcome back, you guys. Behind me is the 2025 Volvo XC60 Recharge, but it's not called the Recharge anymore. I've driven the XC90 Recharge, so now it's time to drive the slightly smaller and more realistic, more practical XC60. Yeah, it's raining outside today, typical Pacific Northwest fall, so we're gonna go for a POV drive and see if these changes, some minor changes for this model year, have made the XC60 even better, of a more kind of minimalist, understated plug-in hybrid SUV. Let's go for a drive. So here it is, XC60 plug-in hybrid, 2025 model, no longer called the Recharge, so just makes it a little bit less confusing here. So that comes with a 2-liter turbocharged inline-4 that powers the front wheels, and then an electric motor that powers the rear wheels. That rear electric motor makes 223 pound-feet of torque and 145 horsepower. That's the T8 platform. That's the T8 powertrain, 455 horsepower, 523 pound-feet of torque. It's a lot, as we're about to experience. So base price in Canada, $64,000. As tested here right in front of us, $95,000 Canadian. It's a lot. I thought the XC90 was expensive, and it is, but the XC60, you're not getting, if you spec it to the max like this one is, you're not getting quite as much of a cost savings when you look at just how much smaller it is compared to the XC90. In 2023, about a year ago, it did get a few exterior changes. Looks really good. Crystal white is the color here, and this one's been spec'd with the optional 21-inch dual 5-spoke wheels. Volvo always nails wheels, recently at least. Every time I see a Volvo, at least in the press fleets, they are just spot on. So the standard kind of trims haven't changed. The naming has changed a little bit. So there's still Core, Plus, and Ultra. This is the Ultra, but it's not called the Ultimate anymore. It is the Ultra. There's the good old T8 badge in the back. Plug-in hybrid, and of course, standard all-wheel drive, because yeah, that's the only way you can have an electric motor in the back and a gas-powered engine in the front. What a great looking vehicle. This is not a new vehicle by any stretch. It's been out for a very long time, but even just minor changes like this in the rear bumper are welcome. And I'm glad they haven't messed with, you know, the tail lights and these lines here that are just aggressive enough, they flow enough to make just a great, simple looking SUV. It's not shouty. That's where you charge, level 2 charging. No level 3 charging. The only plug-in hybrid I've seen with level 3 charging is the Outlander. I believe there's maybe 1 or 2 others on the market right now, but none that I've driven. That's where you fuel up your gas. I have actually no use for that as of now. I have not put any gas in this vehicle, and I've driven well over 550 kilometers so far. Let's go for a drive first, and then we'll go over the interior and infotainment, because there are a few issues. Crystal gear shifter down here, Aura Sweden. That's on the Ultra. Easy enough. It doesn't automatically turn on like the Volvo C40 and some of the other EVs. There is just this engine start-stop knob right here. Easy enough. So right now we're in rear-wheel drive, and the electric motor is exclusively powering the rear wheels. Silent. We get up to 58 kilometers of EV-only range, or about 35 miles. That's a couple miles more than the XC90, just because of weight and size. Of course, the XC90 is a huge 3-row, whereas this is just a 2-row. So we do have really good range. The thing I love most about Volvo's plug-in hybrid system, and this is the same, it's the same one we saw in the V60, it's the same one we saw in the S60, the XC90, 455 horsepower, like I said, 523 pound-feet. It's just smooth. It's so seamless and integrated in the way it delivers power. The 8-speed auto here is great. In fact, I mean, I believe you're able to change the gauge cluster to display RPMs like a proper tach. I have no need for that in this car. It's a luxury car. It has I don't want to say no performance chops, but that's not why you buy an XC60. There is a Polestar engineered version. I think that's pretty much a useless trim option for the XC60. On that note, if you haven't watched my V60 Polestar review, you can check that out, because I love that car. It's one of the last true performance wagons, even though it kind of falls short in some areas. But either way, good range, and if you don't want to, you never have to fill this up with fuel. Like I said, 550 kilometers I've driven this car, and my average fuel economy, 3.6 liters per 100 kilometers, which I believe is around 55, 60 miles per gallon. And that's just kind of not thinking about when I want to charge, if I need to charge, because I don't ever need to. Combined, if you combine the gas engine and the electric motor, I mean, you could easily do 800 kilometers in total range, gas and electric. So I generally just don't think about charging this, and I just do it when it's convenient, which is just a huge upside with this hybrid system. Most plug-in hybrids, but this one in particular, because of that 19 kilowatt hour battery, it actually has usable range, right? If you have a small commute, it's easy. And then if you just want to go on a long road trip, you don't have to look at fast chargers. You don't have to wait in lines. In terms of drive modes, we do have the standard hybrid drive mode, which we're in now. You have pure, which will exclusively use the battery. The only difference between that and hybrid, which I'm driving in right now, is that, let's say if I full throttle, yeah, the gas engine just kicks on. That's actually the first time it's kicked on today. And then we have, of course, all-wheel drive and full power and torque response. The electric motor is great in most scenarios. All I mean by that is it's plenty enough torque in 99% of scenarios. If you're doing an aggressive overtake, yeah, you're gonna need the gas engine on for that. And then if you really wanna get into it, if you wanna get nerdy, go onto the screen here, hit your settings, driving. The only kind of settings we have, other than whether you want firm steering or not, is your battery usage. We have it on auto right now. So basically it will use your battery as quick as possible to save as much fuel as possible. But if we want to get really efficient, and I'm guilty of doing this, because it's, you know, this isn't a particularly exciting vehicle, so it adds some layers to it. I will go hold if I'm on the freeway, because that's when the gas engine is the most efficient. If we're cruising 100, 120 kilometers an hour, 80 miles an hour, whatever it is, then you can just hold the battery and it will effectively at those high speeds only use the gas engine. So we get great efficiency. But then when you come into the city, that's when an EV is most efficient, and then you can just put it on auto and it'll do that, or pure mode. Then we have power mode, which there we go. There's our tack, and we have full power, a little bit quicker throttle response with the gas pedal. And of course, if we go like this, we have one pedal driving. That's no feet on the pedals, and it won't come to a complete stop. That's probably a setting if I had to guess. Yeah, there we go. Creep is off. So it was just creeping there. So there's a few settings to go in there, but overall, steering's great. Not a ton of steering feel, but that's not what we're looking for, particularly in the XC60. There's enough though. Great weight, good precision, and this one's been spec'd with air suspension, which is not standard with the Ultra, but you are able to spec it. Not only is it plenty fast, way quicker than anybody needs, it handles great. It's so smooth most of the time. At lower speeds, some of the bigger bumps, you kind of do feel the dampers acting quickly, and you can kind of feel it through the seat and through the steering. But in most scenarios, like, it just drives, I mean, it rides outstanding. And in terms of size, if you don't need the third row, it's a little bit easier to park than the XC90. It's so quiet in here too. Of course, we have the laminated glass here. So as far as sound goes, very minimal wind noise. 10 years ago, I never really thought of Volvo as a luxury car brand. Growing up, we had Volvos, but they were not like this. If you step into a modern, fully spec'd Volvo, it's on par materials-wise, you know, with Mercedes, BMW, and the German manufacturers, Audi and the like. Little bit of wheel spin there. Yeah, she's quick. 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. Does the quarter mile in 12.4, which is, ooh, nice white GT3, which is phenomenal. Yeah, for an SUV that weighs 4,700 pounds, so much power, so much torque. That's the last thing you need to think about in this vehicle, but it's not like, it doesn't shout at you when the gas engine comes on. It's quiet enough, especially if you even have a little bit of music on. If the car is completely silent, yeah, you hear the gas engine start up and run very faintly, but more importantly than that, you don't feel it. You don't feel it really kick on, and it's super seamless. Gear changes at low speeds are imperceivable. So the Ultra trim level gives you a ton of standard features. One of those being the heads-up display right up there. Another one of those, the 360 cam, which, although there are no real hard buttons here for climate except for defrost down there, you do have buttons that are always here for your temperature and your fan speed. And then if you hit the fan speed, yeah, that brings up things like the AC. So it's not hard buttons down here. It takes a little bit to get used to, but because this is such a minimalistic kind of designed interface, Android based, of course, it's easy enough. There's not so many features that you have to dig through, although it could be a little bit more intuitive. We have heated seats and the heated steering wheel here, ventilated seats as well here. This one's been spec'd with the Napa leather. Such a good spec, especially with this lime wood trim. You can get driftwood and a few other options here. This storage situation here isn't the greatest, and this one hasn't been spec'd with wireless charging. In fact, I've tried to spec multiple XC60s and XC90s with wireless charging on the Canadian website. I can't do it, and every press vehicle I've driven from Volvo, fully spec'd out, doesn't have wireless charging. I don't think it's actually an option here in Canada. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never seen a Volvo in the last 3 or 4 years up here in Canada that has wireless charging. So yeah, maybe I'm just not going through the configurator properly, but aside from that, decent storage, not the greatest. There's no, because it is a plug-in hybrid, there's no storage underneath here or anything like that, but fit and finish is phenomenal. Quality is great. I mean, nothing is creaking, nothing's kind of easily scratchable. It's all soft touch materials. Even down here, even, oh yeah, that's felt lined on the inside of the door cards. Awesome attention to detail here. This one's also been spec'd with the Bowers and Wilkins system. Comes standard with the Harman Kardon if you don't go for that. In the infotainment, it's been largely really easy to use. They did update this for the new XC90 for 2025, so that has an 11.3 inch, whereas this is the 9 inch. And it does add a few more kind of multitasking features down here, which make it a little bit easier. Now, I have had a couple issues where I've already previously paired my device, Bluetooth is on, and I get in and either it won't play, it will say I'm connected, but it won't play, or I'll have to hit the play and pause button like 4 or 5 times. And then maybe once I get it working, sometimes it doesn't work, but maybe once it works, it won't be able to display actually what is playing, the music that's playing at the time, which is slightly annoying. We have Google Maps in the center, love that. One button press and it goes away, and it's just easy to live with. One of the most comfortable seats, definitely sub $100,000 that I've ever experienced. We got the little Swedish flag there, great. Tons of adjustments, 4-way adjustable lumbar, you've got the extended cushion there, and massage seats, which are controlled on the side of the seat with the hard switch. I love that. That's one thing where, yeah, they haven't stuffed it into the menus. One click and it brings this up. And if we go up and down, we can adjust our bolsters, our lumbar. It's easy enough and it just works. Super comfortable. and quite a bit of room. I'm gonna take you to the trunk real quick. Not quite as much cargo space here as an Audi Q5, but still quite a bit. One of the best features here, just for convenience, if you hold this button here, because we're on air suspension, it lowers down, and then it makes it easier to get whatever cargo you have out here. So that's kind of fun. The one thing I do wish this had, and which is why I brought you back here, is I wish it had buttons here to electronically release the seats, because right now I gotta, oh no, I'm getting old. I gotta lean forward the old-fashioned way and release them like that. And then of course we have to go around and bring them up. But aside from that, you've got the pass-through, really good cargo space. Everything folds flat, easy to use, easy to live with. And yeah, don't mind the Thanksgiving salad there. And of course a moonroof up there, huge glass roof. There it is, that's the 2025 Volvo XC60, a great daily. Wow, look at this, I just noticed that. I'm 5'9" and I am about as tall as the XC60, which is the sign of like just a nice sized SUV that you can daily, but it's not cumbersome. It doesn't kind of get in the way. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you've driven any modern Volvos, if you haven't driven a Volvo in like 15, 20 years, I'm sure there are a lot of you. Now would be the time to get in one, because yeah, they've changed a lot for the better. So subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you next time.